Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. In this video, we're going to be going over everything about Toph in Avatar Legends, the fighting game. This is your starter guide for the character. And since we're going to be going over everything, I mean we're going to go over everything. We're going to go over how she plays, her moveset, things you want to go for, combo structure, just everything about Toph. And since we're covering everything, it'll be time-stamped for you, so skip forward to whatever sections make sense for you. That said, this will be a longer video, so please leave a like for timestamps in a longer video. Thank you very much. Now that said, before anything else, why do you want to pick Toph over any other character in the game? So, why pick Toph? Well, one, she's Toph. Just about everyone's favorite character, really. Like, who's gonna say Zuko? Like, let's get real, right? And Toph, if you're looking for some specific fighting game traits, she has the best normal grab in the game, and she also has all sorts of super armor, and, well, that sort of speaks for itself. In fighting games, we'll call this, like, the big boy archetype, and yes, Toph might be a little girl, but she is a big boy as far as fighting games go, and Toph would not have it any other way. Keeping that in mind, so she has a bunch of unique traits that are just for her. Like, all of her heavy attacks do chip damage. Why? Like, why not? That's basically it. She just does chip damage on heavy normals because why not? We talked about that throw. Her base throw is actually longer range than the rest of the cast. At ranges other characters will completely whiff at, she will connect. And the fact that she can hold her grab for more damage, also making it untechable, thus making it a proper command grab, and depending on her support character, she can get full combos afterwards, making the grab actually one of the most deadly parts of the character. And if you catch them in the corner regardless, they could be going for the ride, because you can do a lot of fun stuff from there. She has some of the easiest to use buttons in the game that just have a lot of range to work with, including a lot of super armor. The general game plan is not too difficult. If I had to say a weakness though, is Toph is very strong when her feet are on the ground, but her general mobility is not good. Her basic dash is not cancelable. So if you are looking to just like do running forward offense, you have to pre-plan it a little bit. You just can't scream in like the rest of the cast. Because while she does have flow moves, just like everyone else, hers are a good deal different than the rest of the cast and how it works. And she has no advanced air mobility or anything like that. But if you're looking for someone who has a somewhat straightforward game plan, and again, classical fighting game traits like, big grab or super armor on a lot of things, this is the character. Now, let's talk her special moves. First, we have the Gauntlet tackle. It's just quarter circle forward, light, medium, or heavy. Now, the light and medium versions are mostly combo fodder. I guess you can use this to charge in quickly if you think you can get the enemy, but for a lot of combos, be it basic combos, or say something a bit more advanced, regardless of how you go about it, it's quite useful, because you're just going to be using it a lot, right? Like, it's part of her normal combo structure. And specifically the heavy version is a slightly different move. As you might know, she kind of gathers up a bunch of rocks beforehand. This move has super armor at the start. So, a move is coming, you can kind of blow through it on the other end with that super armor. However, the super armor is only at the start. It is not afterwards. The one that has it afterwards is the enhanced version. The enhanced version has the super armor all the way through. So if you just know, say, a projectile's coming your way and you just need to go through it as soon as possible, the enhanced version is the one to do it. The heavy version that doesn't take meter is more of a called shot. Also, if you're looking to mash through strings, keep in mind neither of these have their super armor start up right away. That'll be other moves that have instant super armor. We'll talk more about that later. Now, next up is Badgermole's Sight. This is actually just on so many levels one of her most important moves. There's a lot of layers to it. On its most basic layer, you simply let the move rock, and you can see here the sight rings like in the show. When it makes contact with the enemy, then the move triggers. And the heavier the button, the faster the rings trigger out. The actual button press though has no effect on the damage. It's always the same damage regardless. Now, a thing to note here is it only triggers when you do it this way if the opponent is on the ground. So if their feet are not on the ground, you can't see them. Just like Toph fighting Aang, You're in the air, it don't trigger. So keep that in mind. It's very strong against grounded foes, but only against grounded foes. But there's a way around that. So you can trigger this manually without the need for the ring to expand to the enemy. And when you do, you're rewarded for it. So versus just doing quarter scroll back and letting your button rock here, if you press the button again before the ring extends out, you will do a version of the move. So first, because there's two versions, if you do light, medium, or heavy, you'll basically kick rocks at the opponent. And the button you press will determine where that rock will be kicked. So light is closer, medium, well, it's about mid-screen, and heavy is full screen. And these moves here will be improved if you're in the Badgermole variation, but we're picking a neutral one for this demonstration. What's handy about these is they are true lows. So they must be crouch blocked, not stand blocked. And if you catch the opponent running forward, like dashing or using flow movement, it'll actually trigger a critical hit and you'll gain an extra bar of energy. And then here's the second version of that. So if you do the Badgermole sight and hit the button early, you get the rock version. But if you do it early and then hold the button, you'll actually just get that pillar. So you don't have to wait for it to travel the full screen. So basically at any point here when Toph is, just dealing with the enemy, zoning, neutral, like whatever, you can just say, nah, just reach out immediately. You do not have to wait for the rock to hit the opponent. And it's, for the most part, otherwise the same move as it triggering. It won't trigger everywhere because it'll just trigger where it hits you, right? But just like the regular rock version, kind of have the close, medium, and far versions of the move versus this will just track them wherever they are. And what's really nice is these versions here, no matter where they are, as long as they are blocked, they are always at least +1 on block, depending on the distance. So point blank, you're always at least +1. So if you just both mash right after each other after the fact, you're always going to win. If you manually use the pillars instead of just letting the auto fire go off, and you hit a foe while they're airborne, you'll actually get a critical hit and get more energy as well. So this is super key for your neutral, for your combos, for your everything. And of course we have the enhanced version. So the enhanced version, it sends out the signal, if you will, and sends it out faster. And the rock pillar that it hits with, it leaves it as part of the stage. And you can interact with it, like knock the opponent through it and combo them. You can throw them into it with Toph's throw and then just get more damage after the fact too. Like, it just becomes part of the stage. In fact, with your backflow, you can make some very cozy situations with the opponent, forcing that just against their will. Now, next up is very interesting. This move is called Dust Storm. So, out of the gate, probably two things you noticed. One, hey, this hits full screen. Cool. Two, yo, this move is slow. But there's a reason why it's slow. It has armor, which is great, but has a special kind of armor called hyper armor. For hyper armor, it does not matter how many hits you take. You are getting the move off no matter what. You can tank an infinite amount of hits while you're just starting up your move, making it very strong. Now to note here, of course, we gotta respect moves on block, right? So the move is not safe on block. If you do it right beside the enemy, you will get hit, you will get blown up. So that's not good, but otherwise, you can be assured this move is guaranteed to go off, basically. That's why it takes 2 energy instead of just 1 like some other EX moves. Because it's very powerful, but it's basically, do I need to get a move on screen right now no matter what? If yes, this is the go-to. Now to talk her super move. So the Seismic Shockwave. That is our 4 energy super move. And it's a lot of hits, but might notice something here. So say we're full screen, right? And we're going to get all the hits in. Not all the moves hit. Versus say if we're right beside the enemy, well then all the moves are going to hit, right? And does substantially more damage. But now much the same here. This is one of the big things about the move. If we're going to do it in the corner, the initial hits will connect, but nothing else will. Now that's frustrating, yes, but it's also by design, FYI. You are basically meant to do this as close to mid-screen as possible to get maximum damage. Sometimes you'll still have to do it in the corner and take less hits. You know, that's just the game. But yeah, if you want to maximize your damage, you gotta be mid-screen. That's kind of how it is. So keep your combo routes kind of according to that to maximize the damage, but it's just a note about it. Now, one fun trait about the super is it is off the ground okay, meaning you can get it, say, after a throw mid-screen. So you don't have to be the Boulder or anything like that. You can be any variation and then give some tasty damage to your throws anywhere on the screen. But yeah, it's mostly just combo fodder, but as far as combo fodder goes, it's reliable. Always use the light shoulder when comboing into it. The medium shoulder, while technically more damaging, can cause it to whiff hits, so you don't want that. And then our level 7 super is the Earthbenders Summit. This is some metal bending. And here's the thing, this is a command grab, and it's the good kind, it's the one you want. So specifically here, if you do the move, and as soon as that cinematic plays, if you're beside the enemy, it goes off, done. There's no escaping it, there's no nothing. If they weren't already jumping or whatever, they're gonna get hit. And notice the damage here, 500 damage. That is effectively half-life on most of the cast, if not even a little bit more on characters with lower health. So this one singular move can decide the game by itself. Just be by the enemy and then go for it. It's a command grab, and if the cinematic plays off, you're gonna get it, you're gonna get that damage. Also, there's a fun little bit here. So in case you whiff it or whatever, the move still goes off. So the metal bending bit, she'll just kick off the metal, punch the metal, and just kind of send it as a projectile. It does have an invincible startup, so you can technically use it to get past projectiles, but the actual startup is so slow that it's mostly for style points. But also, since it has invincible startup, it does mean it's a perfectly valid wake-up option that could just end the game by itself. Of these 7-meter super moves, this is easily one of the best ones just because it's a command grab. Now, let's go over Toph's flow system. So, for Toph, it's a little bit different than everyone else, although everyone in this game is very unique. But it's not as purely mobility-based as other characters. Her forward one will move her forward, but that's about it. And there is no airflow options at all, because Toph, well, she's not terribly airborne. So forward flow, just like other forward flows, many of them in the game are down flows, it can go under high-coded attack. So that's many projectiles and many kinds of moves. So if you just want to work your way in, then you can. That's very easy. The thing that's different though is the start of the move is not low profile like many other ones. So the start of it actually goes over lows, not highs. So the later part goes under highs, but the beginning of this, that little hop she does, is a legitimate, just low crushing hop. So if you know a low's coming your way, then this works out great. In fact, we're going to talk more about that later in the video. Her backflow, no movement at all for you, but maybe some for them. So her backflow is, no, you're coming to me. Just like so many aspects of her kit that matter, you know, if they're touching the floor or not. This is, if you're touching the floor, you're coming in to Toph no matter what, against your will. And also, if you have elements on the stage, those will come in with that as well. So it gives her a very strong element of screen control. And specifically for the Boulder only, back and forward flow will have super armor, but we'll talk more about that in the Boulder section. And speaking of super armor, down flow just enters super armor out of the gate. When she's turning green at any point, that means super armor. And just entering this is super armor from frame 1. And from this, we have light, medium, and heavy, and they all do different things. Light just is an attack by itself that will become a launching critical hit that you can go into combos from if the initial just low flow armor something first. And again, this is armored frame 1. Stance medium is a charging rock forward attack that has armor all the way through. Unlike, say, the cortical forward heavy version, it has armor only at the startup, and this does not take meter, by the way. And stance here into heavy summons the pillar. And from the pillar, she can, well, gain an element of zoning by whipping boulders around. And also launches people, as you can see. It is indeed perfectly valid to combo people in this state. And then just keep going, right? Like, you can be at weird angles, toss odd projectiles from weird parts of the screen. If you're in the Hippo, the port character, you can actually move around while doing this and get even better combos. It's a big part of what makes her unique, because she might not be very airborne, yes, but she can be higher up in the sky than a lot of the rest of the cast pretty easily. Now let's talk notable normals. Toph's got a bunch of them. Since we talked up the throw a lot, let's talk the throw. So we already mentioned here near the beginning of the video, the range of her throw is a little bit longer than the rest of the cast. And unlike the rest of the cast, she can hold it. And when she holds the throw, it becomes untechable, so effectively a command grab, and does more damage. And we'll leave it for the Boulder section, but if you're the Boulder, she also just gets full-on combos after the fact. And here, she can still OTG in the enemy depending on where you are on the screen, but Boulder just gets it better. Also, one of her weaknesses is she cannot cancel her dashes, but she, like many other characters in the game, can cancel a dash into a throw. So basically, that already longer range, just take it longer yet, because one of the few things you can actually cancel your dash into is the throw. So the throw's really, really good. And keep in mind, if you have EX Pillar on the screen, throw gets all the better yet, because you can turn it into extended combos and just maximize your damage output. Now, other great normals, before we get to the real heavy hitters, let's just talk 4 medium. This is a command normal. So by itself, it's got pretty exceptional range for a grounded normal. It's very, very good. And see here, it knocks down. And at the ranges you want to use it at, it's -6. At basically all ranges other than literally point blank, no one's doing anything with -6. So don't stress that too hard. Also, it doesn't naturally combo into Badgermole's sight. However, if you do the canceled version, it will combo into the follow-up, making it just a bit more valuable as like a quick, poke from longer range. If you get the hit, great, you get some extra damage. And if you happen to have super on deck, it's an easy hit confirm into super, and then yeah, that kind of hurts off just a quick little poke mid-screen. Now let's talk one of the moneymakers here, Stand Heavy. There's a case for this being maybe the single best button in the game. So Stand Heavy, you might notice she turns green. So she has super armor while she is attacking here with Stand Heavy. The armor isn't frame 1, but it does boot up real early, meaning while she's being attacked, she can take the hit and smash the enemy on the other end of things. And you might notice here, it sends them flying. And from this, you can indeed combo after the fact, and you can just hit confirm it. If you have the tumble, you see him go flying. Like say you're doing like, ABC style combo here. If you see him, okay, we got the hit. Easy confirm into other combos and kind of just go from there. Because it's going to be armored when you press the button, it makes it very versatile because you can use it to challenge people. You can use it as an approach tool because it, just like the forward medium, has a lot of range by itself. So if you're both like in range to hit buttons and you're not sure who's going to hit who, if you got the armor, if you are slower, sure, whatever, you still tank through the hit on the other end. Now the move is less safe. You want to try to special cancel it into something, because if you just let it rock -15, unless you're on the extreme edge of the move, a lot of people can do something about that. Like we mentioned that forward medium for Toph, that's always going to punish this. And since that has a lot of range, she can punish it from a goodly whiles away. So you can always get it. So this is a move, you can't just do it too by itself. You got to have a backup plan some way, some form, somehow. It's also one of the best anti-airs in the game, but we'll save that for the anti-air section. Much the same here, jump medium. Again, Toph's not great in the air, but when it comes to air, this is basically a shotgun blast. You just need to look at the hitbox. It's gigantic, it's fast, it covers everything in front of her. It's very, very dominant. And speaking of that, jump heavy. So jump heavy. For one, all of her heavies cause chip damage. So you do a bunch of these, it adds up. It also doesn't give you much time to react to it. Her jump arc's not as great as some other people, and this can hit very early on into the jump. This move also is cross up okay. So you do not need to do too much aiming. It's also very active. You just do this like a split second after you jump, and it'll always connect. So you can kind of be in situations where maybe you don't even know where you're going to be. Maybe you jump, maybe you cross them up, maybe you don't. You don't even know. And if you don't even know, how are they going to know, right? Add to the fact, just like that stand heavy, it also bounces on the initial hit. So that means you're always going to get a combo follow. You see a hit, You can kind of hit lights, go from there, or depending on how close you are, you can go to Badgermole's site right away and also just launch them out of the gate. Making this a good starter for combos because you just kind of get whatever off it. In fact, say you hit him with that cross up, right? And then they kind of bounce into you rather than away from you. Then you can go into Badgermole's site. You can see right there, right? Go into Badgermole's site and hit the closed version. That's an element surge and it'll cause a ceiling bounce. And just makes kind of the combo structure easier because you don't have to chase them down. You can do a lot of things with it. But just a very nasty, very spammable, very ignorant normal. Like, this is not a high skill cap button. You don't want it to be. You want to be a small gorilla child and jump in and do stuff? Toph lets you do exactly that. That's what this button is for. Use and abuse. And of course there's more too. Like, we talked about how forward, or rather stand heavy, has a little bit of element of risk because, you know, it's not very safe on block. But then we have crouch heavy. Crouch heavy is also by the numbers unsafe on block, but this has a lot of pushback. At -17, almost nobody's touching this. And also, the startup is armored, and in fact, it's armored faster than stand heavy is. So if you need armor now, this actually goes live quicker than stand heavy, although stand heavy does hit just a little bit earlier. So when you're looking for those gorilla options, she's got a lot of them, is what I'm trying to say. Now, let's talk Toph support characters. So let's start with the Boulder. The Boulder is a more classical big boy experience because you turn a lot of your situations with armor into hyper armor, which is better. And that command grab, the big grab you got, now it's front and center as it becomes one of your main win conditions versus just a really nice thing to have. So let's talk about that first. So she has the regular grab, that's unchanged. The held version of the grab, though, does more damage. Well, it always does more damage, but has a longer knockdown. And now, because it has a longer knockdown, you can start getting combos after the fact. So say mid-screen, normally the other two support characters, they can get the super after the fact. Like, that's not impossible, and it's okay damage. For the Boulder, though, the Boulder can just start doing anything that off the ground, like down heavy into shoulder, and then if you are so inclined, then you could go into a super if you wanted to, right? Just the damage is out of the gate much higher, but also if you want to spend a little meter, you can get a little silly with it here because we can just pop them up with EX pillars. And now, because, you know, we're starting with like more launchers, right? It's very trivial to just get a lot more damage in. That's almost 400 damage. That's not even necessarily the most optimal version of the combo, right? So now that grab is a game deciding move by itself. So now Toph has the full grappler experience, and that's just one of the aspects of why you pick the Boulder. That's probably the main one, but then there's all the armor stuff that gets a lot better. So for one, her forward flow and her back flow now get a single hit of armor. And before, if you're on the other two support characters, they don't have armor at all, which makes this very, very handy. So say you're getting zoned out, and you know you're getting zoned out, right? I can use, say, backflow to bring them in a little bit here, as I know they're tossing their projectile, and then attack them as they're recovering from that same projectile. In fact, at certain ranges, that's a punish. So this is a form of counterplay that Hippo and Badgermole don't get. Basically, if you make the hard read, you can get them outside of normal punish ranges and go crazy. Or conversely, the forward flow, since it has armor, you can just use it to tank through stuff and work your way in. You don't even have to really think about it. It'll take one hit of armor and you just want to be in, you can get in. And then there's downflow. So downflow gains hyper armor, meaning infinite armor. So how it works now is before you just enter, you get one hit armor, right? Now if you hold it, then she turns bright green, and while bright green, hyper armor means infinite armor, although your stamina, your flow gauge, will drain accordingly, so FYI. But this also changes some of the properties of your moves. So on top of gaining that hyper armor, now your downflow light also will gain armor now. So normally that is not armored, but if you stay in long enough to gain the hyper armor from the stance, that becomes armored as well. Your medium, if you go into hyper armor, that also gains hyper armor. Before that would just be a single hit armor, now it's infinite hits of armor. So Boulder gives you a much better command grab, one that is now a game plan you want to work towards. and also gives you more armor on everything. So if you're looking for the classical big body experience, this is it. That's the Boulder. Next up is the Hippo. Now, Hippo is all about the pillar. And the thing is really all about the pillar, as you can see there. So one of the things, I guess, interesting thing is, if you hold the flow button, you can control the pillar while still doing pillar things, like throwing projectiles. So yeah, you can hold flow, throw projectiles, and become like a weird zoning Toph, if you will. And that's neat. That's more neat than it is practical, I guess. The big practical thing is, this is the combo heavy version of Toph, because the pillar comes up faster. And since it comes up faster, she can just start comboing like right away and just keep attacking out of the gate. Like if you're just looking to do like basic combos, this is the one. Also, because when you do the startup here with that forward movement we talked about here, you can make sure that it's gonna connect. So mid-screen corner, like the combo stuff just gets so much better because it has a bigger hitbox, it starts faster, it makes mid-screen combo routing like possible. In a lot of situations like that just doesn't work with the other two support characters mid-screen, right? And with Hippo's unique faster only for him pillar, you can do a lot of fun things. So there we go, just shy of 400 damage. I didn't even spend any meter, right? Just because I can kind of pop you with the pillar and then just ping pong you with the various rock tosses, because different directions give different depths of rock tosses, right? We'll talk more about it in the combo section, but it gives you some fun stuff. But yeah, this is basically the combo support character. Now, Badgermole. So Boulder is like kind of brute force, Hippo is more combos, Badgermole is, I guess, slightly better neutral with some tricks. So one, and this is a big one, just when she kicks rocks at you, the actual size of those rocks is like double the width. So if you're just looking to trip people up, this is simply put way better at it. You get to be a lot more sloppy with how you aim, because the move itself is just so much bigger. It has like maybe 40% the size above what it normally is. So basically there's just a lot less guesswork because it's just so out there. Also, when you do enhanced pillar, the pillar itself is a good deal larger, as you can see here, meaning a minimum for combos that utilize the platform. Just that much easier to use because the rock is just that much, closer, so you won't accidentally overshoot it. Also, an interesting trait about the Badgermole is the actual just Badgermole sight move, right? So if you hold flow after the move is done, it'll just keep doing it over and over and over, which, like you would think, what's the appeal, right? Because could I not just manually do it myself every time? And yeah, you can, although it kind of skips the startup for one, and for certain combo routings, it actually gives you new combo routes. So just for example, we go into EX pillar, we hold flow, right? So by itself, it doesn't do anything, but since it enters the state again immediately, we can cancel immediately and go into another launcher, right? Because I can cancel the moves early, because at any point, if I'm in this stance, I can end it early and just do the move. So basically, in certain situations, it can just give you just a little bit more damage, get an extra pillar in there that you normally otherwise could not get, which is nice. But now here's the real cool thing. Of course, you mentioned here you can cancel it early into like whatever. That's really nice. How about this? You can hold it, and only in this support, you can jump cancel it. So if you just hit forward or back and flow while you're just getting the move ready, Toph will jump cancel. If you are so inclined, this lets her jump cancel just strings. And notice here, why is Azula blocking? The jump cancel also hits low. So this gives you another low to work with on top of the fact that they gotta, potentially block. And if you're just too busy worrying about my block strings, I bet you weren't worried about blocking cross up there. That was a cross up. You had to block that the other side. So basically she can get real tricky. So slightly better neutral, slightly better combos depending on what you're doing. But all of a sudden here's just a whole aspect of the character that didn't exist before. A low hitting jump forward that can be comboed from any block string, which is kind of a little bit crazy when you think about it. Now here's a somewhat simple section, but I guess we got to go over because jumping is a big part of the game. What does Toph do against people who jump attack a lot? Well, it's pretty simple, but there's a couple ways to go about it. One is just, stand heavy. Stand heavy has a gigantic hitbox. It is armored. It will always lead to a combo. It is the kind of gold standard of anti-airs. Because even if you do it a bit late, you have the armor. And if you did it on the right timing and it's early, then you just smash them through it. The only weaknesses are basically this. If you are, say, misjudging an angle, you might armor through it, but then completely miss the move. Or if you do it very late, they might have time to block. So you got to keep that in mind. It's a button that is kind of a magic one-button solution to jumping in general for most of the cast, but it's not flawless, just FYI. However, for the most part, yeah, it's kind of, as advertised, really, really good. And then there's Jump Medium. So Jump Medium is a gigantic hitbox. It's a gigantic hitbox in front of Toph, and she cannot be hit back. There's no extended hurt box here. If she got hit, she'd have to be hit like directly. And this kind of shuts down most stuff before it can even get off the ground, because it's fast, it's huge. It is also okay to go into, say, jump heavy. So if you're jumping towards the enemy and you convert, again, just like stand heavy before, you get a combo conversion. And don't forget air throw. Just like for most of the cast, air throw is also a very dominant option. And also is OTG okay. So if you got some super afterwards, you can just dump it and get some extra damage there. Although if you're looking to meet him in the air, just go for jump light and then jump light right into heavy and just chain it from there. And then you'll get that bounce. And with that bounce, you get all sorts of combos as well. Now, of course, for like the very tricky stuff, she's, every problem's a nail. You got a hammer kind of character. So she doesn't have a lot of nuance in dealing with advanced movement. People are trying to bait you out. But the tools you have are very simple, very effective, and you don't got to do too much. You just catch them in the air. There's no air blocking in this game. Stand Heavy does a really good job of that, at minimum. So you just kind of go from there. And now to talk some of Toph's weaknesses you need to really watch out for. Something like that. So we already talked about Stand Heavy. It's an amazing button, but it's not safe. So a lot of people, okay, well, I'll cancel it into a special move. Sure. Problem with that, though. In that scenario, because you cancel into a move that's technically plus on block, sure, but there's startup to it. And I don't have to just let you sit still and let you get it off, basically. That's kind of the problem. Okay, what if we go for something faster, like kicking the rock? Also plus on block, also good. Problem with that, though, still loses. Because it's just not fast enough. So if you're using Stand Heavy in people's faces, you gotta make some commitments here that might not, be tactically sound sometimes, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So in these scenarios here where you're going to fight someone who's going to challenge you afterwards, right? They're going to hit those buttons. There is some things you can do. Like, say, go for Heavy Charge. Oh, so a Heavy Charge has armored startup. So if people are just going for the jab punish right away, it will beat them every time. So that's something to keep in mind. But of course, your best option is just do hit confirms properly so you don't put yourself in that risk. Because just something like Stand Medium, if you go like light, Stand Medium, only -6, far outside of jab range. Or you could go like light, medium, forward, medium. Also -6, even further out, right? So just make sure that you're not going for your highest commitment, highest risk options out of the gate. Sometimes, especially on defense, if you're planning on using the armor, yeah, you might get blown up for using Stand Heavy. That happens. The only real way to be sure you won't get punished if you use it is to go right into EX Pillar. EX Pillar is so fast that you can't jab through it. And it's also plus on block, which is nice, but you're also committing resources, right? Resources you might not always have because that does take meter. So just keep in mind, keep it simple till you for sure got something. But if you just have to go for the biggest hits right away, at least back it up with EX Pillar so you guys can be comfy together. Now this section is actually going to directly piggyback off the last section because Toph has unique flows and she has unique flow cancels, and you can always flow cancel on block. And this leads to some situations, what we talked about just a moment ago, how this string in the X pillar is mostly safe because like you can't necessarily mash through it because it comes out too fast, but you have a frame 1 armored move and down flow. So if this is happening and you know something guaranteed is coming, you can literally always just downflow through it and attack them on the other end. Depending on what you're doing, kind of how fast you are, it may or may not be punishable, but also armoring through something gives the critical hit as well, so that's really cool. Now, of course, depending on the block string, you have different options. Like keep in mind, to forward flow, you can also cancel that. And this is like a common block string for Korra to kind of push you out. And after the first projectile hit, those are flow cancelable highs, so you can go underneath them with your forward flow. And the armor's sort of an option, except it isn't. So you can like kind of armor the first hit, but not the second one, or armor the projectile and then get blown up by the extra hits there. Then there's some specificity on which support you're in, because like the Boulder can hold the stance and gain that hyper armor, right? So unlike the other two supports here, he can just withstand it and then just attack on the other end. But basically, this is more like a heavy learn your matchup kind of thing. But if you know what block strings are coming your way, thanks to the fact that you have on-demand frame 1 armor in the middle of the block string, thanks to your flow cancels, just kind of pay attention because it might save your life. And now let's go over the basics of combos for Toph. First, we're going to start with some just neutral stuff. Doesn't matter which support you're in, which also kind of makes it Boulder support in a lot of ways, because Boulder cannot do some of the other combos the other two supports can do. But yeah, let's start with the basics. So for the most part, you're going to want to aim for the basic hit confirm, just like lights in the medium. And if you get it, okay, good, going to stand heavy. And what do we get from stand heavy? So the most basic level is you can go into shoulder, although that's not necessarily optimal. From stand heavy, you can also go into the pillars from Badgermole site. And if you go into the pillar, it can naturally complete. It'll launch the enemy from there. You can then dash forward and then just kind of get a combo chain from there and go into the shoulder. So immediately, that's a lot more damage. And it's easier compared to some of the other combos we got. But when we're looking for meterless combos, this is probably what we should be aiming for. So what's that about? Well, so the idea here is we're canceling the Badgermole site early. So we're forcing the pillar to show up faster than it would. And since it shows up faster than it normally would, we can get down heavy into our charge. And from there, we're OTG okay. OTG meaning off the ground. And so we can get another down heavy and get another charge. And we could end with medium shoulder, but the thing is, medium shoulder puts us a little too close, and they roll out, we might be put in the corner. Versus light shoulder, if we know they're going to roll out, then we can kind of keep the advantage and keep the screen as it is. If you're looking to get a little bit of extra damage, EX pillar is also off the ground okay. So in this situation here, as they're sliding to the ground, we can repop them and then just kind of go from there. We are purposely limiting some of the hits we get at the very end, because this combo actually triggers like the infinite protection. So if you add even like one more hit, they'll be able to flip out. Now, another thing, especially for burning meter, about combo routing is heavy kind of uses your bounce property. And if you use the heavy, you can't say get the bounce off jump heavy later in the same combo. So there's some validity of, instead of going like, you know, do into heavy, you instead of go do crouch heavy. So let me show you an example with that. So you may notice that time I didn't switch sides. I went all the way to the corner, right? So didn't quite do as much damage, but that's an option. Now, to tell you right now, this combo manual timing is a little bit more difficult, but the options are there for you, and you won't always be starting with stand heavy. Sometimes crouch heavy is the way to go. The combo you just saw does work off air throws, by the way. And this is for every support character, by the way, not just, say, Boulder with the better throws. So there are situations where combos like this are going to be very important to know. The only difference being for the manual detonation of the EX, you're going to have to use medium instead of light, but otherwise it's the same thing. Now, of course, what about the corner, right? So in the corner, instead of doing this kind of stuff, you actually want to end with your command normal, because command normals can cancel in the flows. And then from there, we can go and do the statue here. So this is, again, everyone can do this, although Hippo can do it better. But let's show a basic example. So there we go. That's almost 380 damage, meterless with a jab starter, right? So that's one example of many possible routes. But let's talk about this importantly. So when you do this here and you pop them up, what we're doing here specifically is medium, forward, and heavy. So the forward and heavy is a different move than the regular heavy that shoots projectile. It shoots it upwards. And when we're doing that, then we're hitting forward and jump, and we're kind of jumping off the platform to combo the enemy down. And because we did not use our bounce yet, that is why this bounces and we get close pillar after the fact and keep the combo going. Moving on to variation specifics. Now, for someone like the Boulder, it's not that deep specifically. The only thing is, anything you get off the command grab, keep in mind the scaling starts immediately. So you want to like tack on your smaller hits at the end after the scaling's already chewed up. But otherwise, combo them after the grab. That easy. For Badgermole, combo structure is weird because it doesn't get a lot of just value just from being in the variation itself. Like say after EX Pillar, what we already talked about earlier, but like you can hold flow and set up the Seismic, right? And then from there, you can manually detonate that to get another one, which I guess gives it like the best full screen EX Pillar, which means you can kind of do like stuff like that, which is not nothing. But like the basic combo structure is kind of the same-ish. And I guess you can invent new nombos like that, which that was a low. You did have to block that low. Although, unfortunately, if that does connect, you can't necessarily air follow up either. Perhaps I'm just limited in my imagination at this juncture. If you know something in the comments below, please, by all means. And for Hippo, well, Hippo, King, the standing mountain here, Hippo just got big damage. Like, we already talked about how, like, even, like, mid-screen, you can already do a lot of the basic stuff. It's just the fact that the pillar is faster. That means, like, all this stuff just works so much easier and faster and better and more reliable. And then we got corner loops. So let me show you an example. So there you go. That's just shy of 400. Not a single meter spent either. Think about that too. You can like loop it like that as well. It's exceptionally more difficult, but this does count as an OTG. Timing's very, very strict though. But yeah, you just got a lot of ways that are just very easy to just form your offense. Also, you can do this in the other variations too. It's just easiest here is, when you knock the opponent down, they can roll. That's an option they get. And with Pillar, you can take away the roll. So right there, you notice that? They tried the rollout and no dice. While that Pillar is active, while you have the little stand to work with, they cannot roll past that. And so either ending the combo a bit early so you're already on it and like just hit stand heavy, knock them down in place. That's one way to do it. Or you can be just outside the range and do it with some of the other variations as well. But that's just a key note to know. And that is an overview of Toph in Avatar Legends the Fighting Game. Toph can do a lot of things. She's a very fun character. Obviously, her supports wildly change how she plays up. And hopefully this video has helped you as a bit of a primer and just understanding the character. As the time I make this, very early in the game's life, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like grimy tech that'll become like the standard over time. But for now, this is kind of like a base level understanding of everything she's capable of, and I hope this video has helped you out in that way. So if you enjoyed it, hey, leave a like, leave a comment, and otherwise that's it for the video. So thank you very much for watching, hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Avatar.